Will China or Africa become the next Christendom? This has been kind of a thought in my mind for a while now, but there's kind of this idea in the Bible where when the people of God, the Israelites, are going along, they're following the law and they are honoring God and they're with God, God grants them power, like King Solomon, King David. But when they become decadent and corrupt, then they decline in power. They get conquered by the Assyrians and the Babylonians. They get scattered. They get destroyed by the Romans when they go away from God and follow their own will instead of God's will. I think in the West has clearly rejected God. Millions of abortions, legalization of sin, and it's directly anti-God now. So why should God give the power that he has given to the West? The West has kind of lost its right to God's blessing. So I think God's going to allow the West to decline. And all the different people groups, he created all of them. It's not just Europe that is special. It's basically whoever has embraced Christianity, Catholicism, that those are the cultures that flourish. The Michael Jones says that the only difference between Europe and Africa is 1,000 years of Catholicism. I believe that's true. And so we have to only look at what are the parts and the regions of the world that are embracing Catholicism, and we will probably see that God will be more likely to bless these groups of people. And it seems as if it's growing more in Africa and China. Also, as Catholics, we believe that the end times won't happen until the gospel has been spread to all the groups of people. And the Jesuits have gone to China, and there has been Christian and Catholic missionaries into Africa. But I wouldn't say that these cultures they're not in the majority yet. So there is the potential over the next hundreds of years for new Christendoms to arise from these different people groups. And it should be interesting because it seems as if each group of people has their own unique sets of skills and gifts and talents, but also weaknesses. So it's hard to say what kind of a Christendom might arise out of these different cultures. But here's a theory of possibly what could happen with China. So America is really afraid of China right now. But China is also really unstable and they have a lot of problems internally. There might be even the potential for civil war. They still kind of have the idea of the mandate of heaven, where if there's a corrupt regime, the people can overthrow this corrupt power. So the CCP, I'm not sure if they'll be around 100 years from now, but if things devolve, then there could be some sort of internal conflict. China, there's kind of like two possible ways that China might go, because at the end of the day, their demographics are in decline. Like they didn't have enough. The one-child policy really messed up their demographics. Same with Russia. That's why Russia is also declining. And when countries are in decline, they become more aggressive and more likely to wage war. So either China is going to start invading other places like Taiwan, or they will have some sort of internal civil war. And either way, it's going to be ugly. But out of the chaos emerges order. And when the Roman Empire collapsed, the Holy Roman Empire was birthed out of that, the collapse of the decadent Rome. So it's possible that maybe China, some sort of collapse happens with China as we know it today, and perhaps that the ground becomes ripe for a new kind of revival of Christianity or Catholicism. I know there was this rebellion which killed millions of people, where some guy, he basically, in China, he failed one of their bureaucratic exams, and he claimed that he was the brother of Jesus Christ, and it was kind of like a rage against the system, and he rebel roused this rebellion which killed millions of people. So I know there must be some degree of uh, hostility towards Christianity for that reason, but the seeds are planted. Catholicism is growing more in the countryside. Protestantism is growing more in the cities. I think that, if the West is not going to be the center of Christendom, then who will be? Also, another people group to keep an eye on is the Middle East. They have Mary I think Mary is in the Quran, so it's possible that somehow they will be reclaimed for Christ. The Africans, they have a lot of spirituality, and here in the West, at least, it seems before, in the 1600s, 1700s, the West was sending missionaries down into Africa to convert the tribes. But now today, it seems like the African priests are the ones who are better priests than a lot of the Western priests. They are the ones who are like reconverting the West. So I would not discount Africa either. They have a lot of unique strengths and talents as well. It's hard to say, how things will play out, but it seems like the West will be powerful to some degree, but like when you go away from reason and logic and Christianity, God is the source of all things, of all good things. When you go away from God, then the only thing left is barbarism. So the West is going to become probably more barbaric until things are going to probably get worse in the West before they get better. Maybe future generations will become more traditional, more Christian, but for the time being, over the next couple hundred years, I would suspect that Asia and Africa might be the places where Christianity might flourish more. Also, we have the internet, so that's like a wild card that no one really knows what could happen with that. I know in Mongolia, they were underneath the Soviet Union for decades, and they are now in mass embracing Protestantism. And the Dalai Lama, it's to the point where the Dalai Lama doesn't like it because he views them as being invasive. But I don't blame these people for embracing Christianity after being underneath communism for decades. So it's possible that people will see in China the flaws of this secular, communist, whatever you want to call Chinese system, then they might embrace Christianity. Japan also, their demographics are destroyed. Like they've got like 110 million people there, but over the next 30, 40 years, their population is going to like half. And so it's possible that the Asians will be the ones who are the next Christendom, and then they will be like evangelizing the West, who is like devolved back into paganism. I don't think that God is going to keep giving America and the West, all these Western European countries who are anti-God, they embrace sin, they're for infanticide. That can't go on forever. God is going to allow these societies to collapse. And the reason why I think this is the case is because all you have to do is study the past 2,000 years of history, and you can see that God has favored different groups of people at different points in history. For example, the Spanish in the 1600s, and you can just go back and you can see at different points in European history, there's different countries that were more powerful. So it's not that race doesn't have anything to do with it. It has to do with God's providence and also the ideology and the religion that these people embrace. So You know, the Jews, the Israelites, they were the good guys for a long time, but now they might not necessarily be, in the same way the Europeans were the good guys for a while, but they might not necessarily be the good guys in the future. So it should be interesting to see, but I don't think the end times will come until uh, probably Asia and Africa are built up a little bit more. If you agree or disagree, leave a comment, and I'll see you guys in the next one.